Welcome to Vegan Finds, and today we're going to show you how to take this to this. Okay, so we're going to start by weighing out 800 grams of water. A little bit short, so I'll get a little bit more water. Okay, so I'm going to add the additional water, and this is why you often weigh baking ingredients. Okay, I'm just a little bit over, so I'm just going to take some of that out. Why you weigh baking ingredients when you're baking something important, because the measuring side of these cups isn't always completely accurate. So that's why bakers are sitting there always measuring. So I'm going to take out the little excess that's in here. I'm going to put it into my bowl, and then I'm going to show you the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so now I'm going to measure out 20 grams of salt. I'm using sea salt here. You may think this is a lot, but we're using the whole bag of flour, so that's a full kilo. Oops, got a little bit too much there. New scale. Oh no! Let's try this again. Okay. So we got 25 grams of salt. Now I'm going to get 20 grams of olive oil. Okay, so we're going to measure out 8 grams of yeast. And, okay, we're going to try and redo this again. Zero. That out. Okay. Okay, so we have our 8 grams of yeast. Okay, so into my bowl I'm adding the water. And now I'm going to add the yeast. We aren't going to be proofing this yeast. And I just used a packet of this the other day, so I know this yeast is still very active. So I'm just going to mix it up a little bit. You could smell the yeastiness. And just so you know, 8 grams is slightly more than one package of yeast. The packages of yeast are 7 grams. And I know I've said in the past, always add your wet to your dry. In this case, for whatever reason, it's the only time I've ever really seen this. I'm adding the dry to the wet, so I'm just gonna do this. Now, if you have a mix master, I'm using the full bag, so 1 kilo, 2.2 pounds of this. So, if you have a mix master, this is going to go a whole lot easier, a whole lot faster than doing this by hand. But ours is packed away, so I'm just going to start mixing this up. Once the dough comes together, that's when we add in the salt. So I'm going to continue to mix this, and when I'm ready for the salt, I will bring you back. Okay, because you can see that the dough has come together now. It's a very sticky dough to start. So I'm going to add my salt to this. I'm just going to sprinkle it over and then start incorporating it into our dough here. You can see I'm using the pink sea salt, so it stands out, and I'll be able to see that it's incorporated into the dough a little bit easier since I'm doing this by hand. Now it's time to add the olive oil. So I'm going to be adding just a little bits at a time to incorporate into the dough. Okay, so I'm making my final addition of the olive oil, and once this is complete, I will show you what to do with the dough once it's all full mixed. One thing I'm going to point out is that when you add the olive oil, you're going to see the dough change texture. And it's going to be a lot more like a regular gluten-based dough. It's going to be a lot smoother, a lot stretchier than what you'd expect from a I'm sorry, I'm out of breath here, but this is a freaking workout. Let me tell you something. This is why Italian grandmas were so feared. You know, they were working these things with wooden spoons, no mix masters. Holy cow! You're getting a good workout. So you can see the dough's completely changed its texture. It's not sticking to the sides of the bowl. I mean, it really looks like a regular gluten-filled dough, but we don't have to knead this. We don't have to do anything special to it once it's done, because we're not trying to build any gluten, because there's no gluten in it. So anyway, I'm going to show you what to do with this once I'm done incorporating all the oil, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so our dough is ready for the next stage. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a gallon freezer bag, and I'm just going to oil it up a little bit on the inside, so when it's time to take the dough out, it doesn't completely stick to the surface here. Since I don't know exactly how much dough I'm using, this would be enough to make 4 nice sized Neapolitan style pizzas. I'm just going to pull this out of the bowl and put it into our bag. If I can do that. Let's see. I scooped it out. There we go. It's into the bag. Okay, so once you got your dough in your bag, you're going to seal it, getting out as much of the air as possible. And then you're going to place this in the fridge for several hours. Basically, the dough is going to rise a little bit, but not a significant amount of rising will occur, because the element that helps make dough rise, the gluten, is not present here, but it definitely will rise. Just not to the extent that a regular dough would. So this is going to go into the fridge, I'm going to say, for 7 or 8 hours. About an hour, call it an hour and a half before you want to actually bake this. You're going to take it out of the oven, let it come to room temperature, and then we will start forming our final dough product. Okay, so in my pan I'm going to be adding some mushrooms. I'm going to saute them. So we're going to do mushrooms, onions, and peppers to add to our pizza pie. Anything else? Mushroom, onions, and peppers, right? Oh, and we're also going to be using the Beyond Meat sausage, the hot Italian version, with new cooking instructions. Now meatier. That's what the package says, so we're going to find out. And I'm just going to saute these off. We're going to add those to the pie. You don't need to see this, but so I will, when you construct it, you'll know what the instructions will be there in the directions. Okay, so you can see our dough is nicely risen. There's a lot of nice air pockets in here, if you could see, from the yeast doing its job. I'm going to basically cut this dough in slightly more than half, and I'm going to put it into this springform pan. It's not a traditional deep dish pizza vehicle, but that's what we're going to use. We're going to test this out and see if we can do it. So I'm going to get to work on that, and I will show you what it looks like when it's fully done and ready to be filled. Okay, so I rolled the dough out using a rolling pin. I put it on some parchment paper because gluten-free flour doesn't have gluten. The tensile strength of the actual dough is not nearly what you would get with a dough made with regular flour. So trying to get it into our springform pan is going to be a bit of an adventure. We're going to try and just flip it over, and hopefully we will get it to work. I will show you in a moment. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking the excess and I'm folding it over and attaching it to the top of our springform pan to kind of give it a little extra lift and to keep it up so it doesn't fall over. And you kind of have to just use your fingers a fair bit to make sure that it just stays in place. But we are going to be pre-baking this, so that'll help. And because once it's pre-baked, then you don't have to worry. You can kind of cut off the excess on the top, because when you take off the springform, you're going to want to make sure that the actual pizza releases from this. So, all right, so now what's the next step? The next step here is to add some garlic and some olive oil. So I'm just going to put out about 2 tablespoons of olive oil right on the bottom here. Spread it nice. Going to take my garlic. I have 2 cloves in here that have been wonderfully smushed by my beautiful wife. And where did that doohickey go? And she found this, a tool that's been missing from our arsenal for quite some time.
No. You just don't look for it.
Okay. She says I don't look for it. And what we want to do is get oil as much up on the sides as possible. I'm just going to put some in our dish here. Because we want the dough to basically pre-bake. And which is especially true for gluten-free doughs. Because gluten-free doughs do not bake the way a regular dough will bake. And in this particular structure, it's significantly different than regular pizza. So if we were doing regular pizza, I wouldn't be worrying about this at all, because as you can see, this dough is really super pliable, and it's actually quite strong. It's unlike any other gluten-free dough I've ever really worked with. The Caputo flour is top-notch. That's all I have to say. You can get it on Amazon. I think maybe we'll even put a link to it in the things. We have no affiliation with Amazon, so we don't get paid for this. But we met the guys from Orlando Sales who represent Caputo at a vegan. Was it the vegan? It was a gluten-free expo. They made a bread with their gluten-free flour. I would have sworn I was eating regular bread. So, next thing we need to do is, I need a fork, my dear, is to dock the dough. So we're going to basically, like you would a pie, just punch some holes in it, because you don't want this puffing up on you, because you're going to need the room for the
actual stuff here. And plus it'll help release some of the gases and cook. So this is going to go in the oven for, what did I say, 15 minutes at 450 degrees. And we'll be back to show you what it looks like when it's done. So this is the other half of our dough. And we're going to do this in a cast iron pan. To show you the kind of cooking difference here. We're not going to do anything unique other than make cheese and tomatoes in this. So I need some oil on my fingers so it doesn't stick. There we go. Put some oil on those fingers, baby. I've grown an extra set of hands. Let me grease you up.
I don't need to be greased.
Yes, you do. And I'm telling you, if you make a regular pizza with this, you are going to be amazed at how well the dough reacts. You just push with your fingers. You just push around in a circle. I mean, it is really remarkable how well it's still pretty sticky, but
Oh, no.
Oh, what do you see? This is why I said use freaking olive oil on your fingers. You don't listen, and that's what happened. Oh, you just... All right, stop. Just informed that I was supposed to reserve some of that garlic that I put in the first pie for the second pie. So that was 6 cloves, and normally you're only supposed to put in 2 cloves. I thought it looked like a lot, but who am I to say anything? So I'm using a little garlic powder. We're going to brush this up again with the dough, with the olive oil. We made some sauce.
Who made some sauce?
Not me. I did not make any sauce. I had no involvement in the sauce at all. Doris took it upon herself to actually make the sauce. I'll say from scratch because it came from scratch. I wonder where that phrase comes from. But we definitely need a little more oil on this one. And if you have like one of those outdoor pizza ovens, I saw one today. Fortunately, it's not available anymore. Whew. I think everybody who was in the pandemic probably bought it, figuring I'm going to make pizza outside. Looked amazing. So now I just have... What?
Put in the new house.
Yes, in the new place. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we dock this one as well. And we're going to pop this in the oven for 15 minutes just the same way. Okay, so here's the one that's in the skillet. I'll show you the other one right now. And I'm going to let you know that since this was our first time actually making it with this kind of dough, we had to perform some minor surgery on the actual dough itself as it was cooking.
You want it to be thinner.
You definitely want it to be much thinner than what we had in there. The other thing that you could do is after you dock it, if you have a metal bowl that you could set inside with water or something to weigh it down, that will hold the dough in place because it tends to kind of collapse in on itself and grow up this way. So we trimmed around the edges a bit to give us a place to start our layering process. So that's what we're going to do right now. So
as you can see here, we've already started layering our cheese in. I'm going to throw in some basil microgreens that we picked up from a farmer's market.
Right, it's Bluemont Farms microgreens. They're out of Bloomfield, New Jersey. And they have all sorts of really great microgreens. We promised that we would make some recipes for them so they could post them on their website. If you're from the New Jersey area, you can go to the Montclair Farmers Market on Saturday or the Summit Farmers Market every other weekend on Sunday.
And now we're just going to layer in our tomato sauce.
That looks beautiful.
And that is ready to go in the oven.
All right, so I'm going to pop this back in the oven probably, what, 10 to 15 minutes, and pie number 1 will be done. Alexa, set timer for 10 minutes. Here, let me put that.
Let me just make this look semi-pretty, okay?
Okay, because it's still running. Okay, no, then the sauce.
Then the sauce.
All right, so we put our mozzarella cheese down on the bottom. Now we're going to add our sauce. You're going to need sauce for the top too.
All right, relax.
That's good.
I shouldn't have gotten the meatballs then.
All right, so we're putting now the sausage. Look at how nice she's doing that. Now we're putting on the mushrooms, onions, and peppers.
Sauce.
Oh, this thing looks insane.
All right. Now we got sauce. We might as well just
Use it all.
There's no point in saving it.
Nope. All right, and just some more cheese.
I thought that. No, really?
I think so.
I didn't
Okay.
think so. But
Okay. Well, there's not much cheese in it then.
But we're out of sauce.
We don't need more sauce.
Okay.
All right. So we are improvising here on the fly. As you can see, it's always a collaborative effort between us.
You say collaborative, I say somebody's got to be right, somebody's got to be wrong.
In this case, we'll find out after we cook this. All right. And now I'm going to add some more of the veggies.
Get out of my way.
You do whatever you want.
Why do you have to like just be willy-nilly about things?
I wasn't going to put the sausage, but you're putting the sausage on top.
You don't want the sausage on top?
Well, now I do.
I'm gonna have like a slice of this and then die.
On the plus side,
It's gonna be
low in saturated fat, so you're not going to have a coronated. You might
over.
you might just die from consumption.
Eat for a week. They're finished.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is our first deep dish pizza. This is just cheese and tomato sauce, and we are going to cut it.
Go ahead. You know what?
You
I
like?
didn't want to cut the whole thing because she's not going to eat the whole pie.
Well, but we're gonna make it easy. Or not. There we go. And how big a slice is she gonna eat?
I don't know.
All right, we'll go this way.
Ah, look at that.
That is gorgeous. Gorgeous, I say. Gorgeous.
Selena!
It is delicious. It is killer. It is absolutely fantastic. I just took a little bite. We're trying to get our kid out of her cave right now so she can eat some dinner. And so that's the first pie. Now, we did the other one in a spring form. We'll see what happens with that. That I'm a little nervous about, but this one came out great. And we'll be back with the other one.
This is really big.
This is huge. This is like gigantic.
See that? That's how thick the crust is.
I'm afraid to cut this.
I'm afraid for you to cut this. This is where you need the serrated knife, genius.
All right. All right, genius. You show me. I think it's going to all cool out.
Oh my god. You do me a favor. Just
Hold it.
hold it.
Maybe we should let it sit.
I got through.
All right. I think we overfilled this.
He thinks we overfilled this.
Did you hear her say stop? I did not hear the phrase stop. I think this is going to just spin this.
All right, just stop. 'Cause we're
But this is just insane. The amount of stuff that's in this slice is crazy. Now, I might use less sauce next time, just simply because it's so deep and so thick that it's just oozing out everywhere. It looks amazing. I'm about to taste it. I'm going to scoop some of this up and eat it. I'm just adding it to my pile. It looks fantastic. So, if you like these recipes, please click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment and give us a thumbs up.
uh-oh.
Yeah, it's deep, it's thick, and it's crazy good.